Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a story that's, well, it's equal parts inspiring and just incredibly dark. We're looking at the absolutely chaotic, true history of PayPal. We're going to trace how a small group of scrappy 20-somethings with almost zero finance experience went toe-to-toe with a massive banking industry, nearly went bankrupt, mutinied against their own leaders, and somehow ultimately built a massive financial monolith. Now, you might be wondering, how exactly did a startup that literally gave away free money become one of the internet's most complained about companies? It's a wild paradox, right? On one hand, you've got a company that totally revolutionized how we send money online. But on the other, it's turned into a platform plagued by horror stories, frozen funds, and regulatory probes. So today, we're unpacking the cutthroat history, the boardroom coups, and the dark truth behind the platform almost all of us use. All right, Section 1, the accidental rivals. Let's get right into it. To really understand PayPal today, we've got to rewind to the late 90s, right at the peak of the dot-com boom. And in just a massive coincidence, two completely separate companies were about to collide in the most spectacular way. First up, you had Confinity, founded by Max Levchin and Peter Thiel. Their original idea, creating security software for Palm Pilots. Yeah, that totally flopped. So they pivoted to beaming money between Palm Pilots using infrared ports. Then you had X.com, founded by a 27-year-old Elon Musk, who had just sold his first company. Musk wanted to build a digital superbank, an all-in-one platform for mortgages, stocks, checking accounts, basically taking on massive banking regulations. But here's the crazy part. In 1999, Confinity and X.com were literally neighbors. They were renting adjoining office suites at 394 University Avenue in Palo Alto, sharing the exact same building, looking out over a bakery. Both secretly thought the other's business plan was totally doomed. But as they scrambled to get users, both companies accidentally stumbled onto the exact same realization. Nobody cared about Palm Pilots or superbanks. Customers just wanted the simple side feature both of them offered, which was sending and receiving payments via email. So, despite having totally different original visions, they accidentally backed into the exact same market. Which brings us to Section 2, mergers, mutinies, and coups. So, realizing they were suddenly in this winner-takes-all network effect market, where the platform with the most users basically wins everything, these two neighbors got into a bloodthirsty battle. $100,000. That was PayPal's daily cash burn rate at the height of this rivalry. Both companies realized that eBay was a massive untapped goldmine for email payments, so they engaged in this insane race to see who would run out of money last. PayPal was offering users $10 just to sign up and another $10 for a referral. X.com countered with $20 to sign up and $10 for a referral. They were literally handing out free cash to build their networks. Employees were sleeping under their desks, and honestly, both companies were just hurtling straight toward bankruptcy. To avoid totally destroying each other, X.com's CEO, Bill Harris, gave Elon Musk an ultimatum: merge with Confinity or he'd resign. Musk reluctantly agreed to an even 50-50 merger in early 2000. They kept the X.com company name but held on to the super popular PayPal product name. But, as you can probably guess, combining two fierce rivals under one roof was a complete disaster. Clashes over management styles quickly led to a secret mutiny. Behind Bill Harris's back, executives conspired with the board to overthrow him, and they successfully ousted Harris in May 2000, leaving Elon Musk as CEO. But the plotting definitely didn't stop there. Internal divisions only got worse under Musk. He pushed for a PayPal 2.0 to bring back his whole digital superbank vision, and controversially, he wanted to kill the beloved PayPal brand name entirely in favor of X.com. On top of that, there was this bitter engineering war going on. X.com was built on Microsoft Windows, while PayPal was built on Linux. Musk insisted on switching everything over to Windows, a decision he famously wanted to settle with an actual arm wrestling contest. I mean, you really can't make this stuff up. Morale absolutely plummeted, and the original Confinity executives decided Musk had to go. So they waited for the absolute perfect moment. September 2000. Elon Musk boards a flight with his wife for their honeymoon. While he's literally in the air, the rebels present a vote of no confidence to the board, threatening a mass resignation. By the time Musk landed, he had been fired as CEO. As Musk leaders said, he was completely heartbroken. He had given every last ounce of effort, put his marriage on the rocks, poured his own fortune and endless hours into the company, only to be totally cut out of leadership behind his back. All right, Section 3, beating the eBay behemoth. With Musk out, Peter Thiel stepped back in as CEO. Now, the newly unified PayPal team faced two massive existential threats: rampant fraud and the absolute behemoth that was eBay. See, PayPal's strategy of handing out free money with basically zero verification had attracted thousands of scammers. Fraudsters were using stolen identities. One employee even noted people were opening credit lines under the name Mickey Mouse. And this Russian hacker named Igor was mercilessly taunting co-founder Max Levchin by creating bulk fake accounts. To battle Igor and these bots, Levchin essentially turned PayPal into a big data security pioneer. He invented the first popular CAPTCHA system, those distorted letters and numbers we all have to squint at and click on today, just to prove users were human. He also built algorithms to freeze accounts that showed suspicious payment patterns. It was a move that absolutely saved the company, even if it would become highly controversial later on.
Meanwhile, eBay realized PayPal was making all the money off their auctions, so they aggressively tried to force users to adopt their own in-house payment system called BillPoint. But here was the catch. eBay required tedious, traditional banking verification. PayPal? They handed out accounts to anyone instantly. Because PayPal was so frictionless, it just completely crushed eBay's own system on its own platform, ultimately capturing a massive 70% of the market share compared to BillPoint's 25%.
So what was the result? Well, after finally reaching profitability and surviving a pretty bumpy 2002 IPO, where their stock price jumped from 13 to 20 bucks on the very first day, eBay just threw in the towel. In July 2002, eBay surrendered and bought PayPal for $1.5 billion in stock. The scrappy startup era was officially over. But what happened next would completely reshape the tech world. Moving on to Section 4, the PayPal Mafia. Joining a massive corporate machine like eBay meant the vibrant, chaotic startup culture at PayPal pretty much died instantly. The rigid, hierarchical environment caused almost all of the original founders and early employees to immediately head for the exits. But what they did next is legendary. The intense crucible of building PayPal forged an alumni network so incredibly powerful that Fortune magazine famously dubbed them the PayPal Mafia. Their output is absolutely staggering. Former employees went on to co-found YouTube, LinkedIn, Yelp, SpaceX, and Tesla. Peter Thiel even became Facebook's first outside investor. The lessons these folks learned surviving the wild wars of PayPal empowered a small group of people to essentially build and define the modern internet as we know it today. And that brings us to Section 5, the dark truth. Fast forward to 2015, and eBay spins PayPal back out into its own separate company. Today, it's valued at over $70 billion. But looking at its current state, we have to objectively examine the documented backlash it faces. 1.3. That is PayPal's current average rating on Trustpilot out of tens of thousands of reviews. It represents a massive, documented shift in public perception for a company that was, once universally beloved for sticking it to the big banks. The reports from users today are incredibly consistent and honestly pretty alarming. Small business owners report having their accounts abruptly shut down with absolutely no explanation and their funds frozen for up to 180 days. It's a direct, unintended consequence of Max Levchin's original anti-fraud algorithms morphing into a bureaucratic nightmare for innocent people. On top of that, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau has actively accused the company of unethical practices, like signing people up for credit accounts without permission and ignoring customer disputes while actually siding with scammers. Things reached a real peak level of controversy recently when PayPal updated its user policy. They stated that anyone posting misinformation could be fined $2,500 directly from their account. As you can imagine, this sparked massive outrage. Even former PayPal presidents and Elon Musk himself publicly slammed the move, calling it insanity that a financial platform could seize hard-earned money based on speech. After the intense backlash, PayPal walked the policy back, claiming it was just a mistake. But the damage to consumer trust? Yeah, that was pretty heavily cemented. Which brings us to the core irony of PayPal's history. Back in 1999, they basically begged you to use their service. They promised it would be free forever, and they literally paid you to join. But it's a classic business tactic, right? Lure consumers in with a tremendous, totally unsustainable deal, achieve a near monopoly, and then completely change the rules once those consumers have no alternatives. Today, users find themselves trapped with high transaction fees and the constant fear of arbitrary account freezes.
So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Did the scrappy disruptors who fought the big banks inevitably become the exact kind of institution they set out to destroy? Was the original vision of an open, frictionless financial utopia ultimately corrupted by the very monopoly power PayPal fought so incredibly hard to achieve? It's a fascinating question about the true nature of tech disruption. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep asking questions, and I'll see you next time.